Boom, we are off another episode of Booze Your Daddy podcast. I'm Dr. Alan Snyder, and I am here with a new friend of mine, Sir, I guess because he's coming from across the pond, Sir Ian Garcia. How you doing, buddy?
I'm great, thank you. I'm not sure many people I know would give me that kind of introduction, but thanks.
I know you well enough. I guess a little bit. We have talked a little bit. So first, we'll start off by just kind of saying, how I met you. You are a podcaster, just getting going in the sphere. Not that I'm anything of a professional. And you were looking for people to come on your show, which we're definitely going to talk about, and to kind of talk about some serious issues in the world. And you put out this request, and I was like, hey, I can talk. I talk very well sometimes. And I was very excited to get on your show, and you're like, wow, somebody from the States for the first episode. And I was like, oh, wow, pilot episode. Let's do this.
That was amazing. I didn't expect that at all. I was barely thinking I was going to get anyone from here, let alone across the pond.
Yeah, pretty much. I love that, across the pond. And as we got talking more and more about different things, I knew that, you and I are probably going to develop some type of friendship. Who sees where it goes? Just because you gave me, I love compliments. I love being complimented. And on our show on our show around the July 4th, I started off this big British accent, and I volunteered to do my accent for you, which I'm not going to embarrass myself again. And you didn't tell me, you told me it wasn't terrible. You just said, you sound just like Russell Brand.
Yeah. It was kind of the go-to, wasn't it? It was the go-to accent for doing a British accent.
I guess. I mean, I can try to do the Liverpool, but that doesn't come out very well. And
actually, do you know what? You wouldn't upset many people at a minute because they're too busy celebrating their football team winning. So,
yes. So speaking of football teams, if you ever want to get into an argument with somebody from Europe, pretty much, or me being from the States, just say the word football. Now, it is not a coincidence, and people who are watching this right now, because we put our videos on YouTube, it's Booze Your Daddy, BOO''S YOURDADDY. I am wearing one of my favorite football jerseys, and the NFL doesn't start here in the States for another month or so, but I wore this basically just to piss you off, I'll be honest.
Yeah. Do you know what the funny thing is? As soon as you went to do that just then, my initial go-to was, I was going to be like, oh, what's that team? It's just a thing that's ingrained in us from watching football our end. You cannot like another team. You pick your team, that's it. You like them, you love them, no other team. But I don't know anything really about NFL and American football, so I can't slate your team. This is a really weird feeling.
Yeah, it's cool. Here we have football teams, which either if you grew up with, they're going to be the team closest to where you're from. If you don't have a team near you, you kind of tend to root for whoever's really good. So in basketball, we have the Golden State Warriors. Everybody's a Warriors fan, all the little kids. And in football, the Patriots were really big because they were winning all the championships. And when I was growing up, the Dallas Cowboys were really good. And they're considered America's team. Don't ask why. But then when I was...
That's great branding.
Oh, it really is. So when I was 12, we found out that the team in Cleveland, Ohio was coming to Baltimore, which is where I'm from. Baltimore is just a little north of Washington, D.C., the capital. And we got something called the Ravens because the famous poet Edgar Allan Poe is buried in downtown Baltimore. So I'm hoping the Raven, Nevermore, Nevermore. No. All right. It's cool. I have no idea what people in other parts of the world know, but it's a very famous poem, and it's Edgar Allan Poe wrote it, and he's buried in Baltimore. Yeah. The grave is right by where I went to school, and I would walk by it all the time. And when we got the football team, we got 3 mascots. They were all Ravens. It was Edgar, Allan, and Poe. And then budget cuts one year, they got rid of Edgar and Allan, and now we just have Poe, and he's our mascot.
Nice.
So I wore the jersey of my favorite player. It's Ed Reed. He's long retired, but he's in the Hall of Fame, an all-time great. And in the sport of American football, there's offense and defense. And I guess he's on the defensive side of the ball, and he's the guy that kind of stands all the way backwards. And he's like your last line of defense. He's your shit really went wrong, but he's there to help you out. He was so incredible as a player that, the teams would throw the ball and he would catch it. It just didn't matter. He was so great. And then he could take it and run back the other way. So to put it in soccer terms, he was the stopper, and then he would dribble past everybody and go score a goal, which would be unthinkable in pure football, right?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's similar here, in football here. If it reaches that last line of defense, especially if it goes to the keeper and he has to save your team's butt
you got problems.
Oh, he's going to look at that team, and the rest of them have their heads down like, oh, no, we messed up. We messed up.
Yeah, so the line that came out of Ed Reed was 2/3 of the world is covered by water, and the other third is covered by Ed Reed.
Nice.
Just
I
because
like
he was so great at being back there. So I wanted to make sure I put this on here, and just to be a little inflammatory, which I'm sure you don't hate too much. We also have here, what's when you say about allegiances, do you guys have fantasy sports?
Yeah, kind of. It's called Dream Team.
Dream Team, okay. Are they big there for you guys?
Dream Team, to be honest, I mean, what do you do with yours? Is it literally just some group of guys get together and you just do fantasy league? There's nothing really to win per se. You just do it.
Except for money. There's other
You
and we
Oh,
do
there
it
you
for
go then.
money.
All
Right.
right.
We do it for money and we do it for pride. And I am in more fantasy football teams than I feel comfortable telling you about because you'll probably call, Gamblers Anonymous on me. But I do it. My one major one is with my guy friends from college, and we've had the same 12 people in the league for, God, it's got to be at least 15 years now. I mean, we really, and it's as much as the money is nice. I mean, it's all about talking shit to each other and who's better.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's way more about that. So in our world, you have your home team, but you also have your fantasy team. So when you go out to the bars on Sundays and watch the games, you're sitting there and kind of, I'm never going to root against my home team, but they don't have to win by 100. Let the other team score.
Oh, see, this is where you guys are wrong on this, right? Over here, you cannot support two teams. Not even be like, well, I like that team, so I'm supporting them today. No. One team.
No, but I'm not even supporting.
If your team loses, your weekend is ruined.
Yeah, I can see that. But here we don't really support the team. It's more about a player because when that player scores points, you get points. And then furthermore, if you don't have him year to year, your other team allegiances change very, very much. And you do tend to see people who will draft guys on their home team because I want to root for my teams. But I tend to diversify my assets because if my fantasy team loses and my real team loses, you want to talk about depression, man? It's bad.
Yeah, I've been there because once or twice I did join those dream teams because we all do it online. And somebody I know always sets up a league every single year. And I always get the same email, you're going to join the league, this year. And the problem is after about 3 or 4 weeks, I forget to do it. I forget to trade players and things like that. And then I start falling down the rankings. So it's like, what's the point of me doing it? But there's always that one person. If you're watching the game with them or something, you can tell what their team is because probably about 7, 8 of their 11 players are from their team.
That's a lot.
And then you got other ones that are sitting there having all different players, all different teams. And their team they support. But secretly in their head, if their team's losing and their real team's got nothing to really lose in the league, but their fantasy team is winning because the team they're playing against is beating them, they're secretly like, great.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, terrible.
Yeah. So the only other thing I want to wrap up on sports is there's something that we talk about here. There was a documentary on once, and they always said the most interesting thing in the world is to talk about your own team. And the least interesting thing is to hear about anybody else's. I just don't care. You could even be in my league. I don't want to hear about your stupid team. I just don't. So we've talked about
you. I mean, who wants to hear about that team?
Exactly. So we've been talking way too long without having any refreshments right now because the name of the podcast is Booze Your Daddy, BOO''S. But the play on words is that I like drinking beer. It's about booze. So I will defer to you before I crack my beer because you showed me something when we were just signing on to this that is quite impressive.
Oh, yeah. You're going straight to me, are we? So I brought along this, and I just happened to come across this. I don't know what this is like at all. This is a 10% Fax brewery from Denmark. I mean, it's a litre can as well. I don't know what size your cans are normally, but this is a litre.
No, ours are, normal cans for us are, the 12-ounce cans. And then we have bottles sometimes that can be like a pint is 16 ounces for us. Yeah. The only thing that gets bigger than that anybody would get regularly is Foster's beer. It's it's that oil can, we call it.
Like keg.
It's getting close to it. So that's your beer. I'll just tell you what I got here. So because it's summer, I have a 5 Boroughs Brewing Company Summer Ale. It's not it's a 5% alcohol. It's meant to be more refreshing. Oh my God.
Exactly.
People who aren't watching this, he just gave me this look like 5%, you little wuss, you little wanker, you. Because the beer he has is this massive can that I'm going to post pictures on our Instagram of and it is black as night can, this liter.
I'll tell you something, this isn't your average can. This is not what I'm not representing Britain here, just for anybody out there. This is not what we drink on the regular.
Oh, but you guys are notorious for being bloody drunk and drinking and all that stuff. That's like part of the culture there. So, all right. And I also wanted to drink this because I tried to
imagine how much those people have to drink.
Yeah, especially, well, one of those cans, definitely. So the beer I got here is called Five Boroughs. And I didn't know if you knew this, but in New York, the Five Boroughs is kind of how we describe the different places. People think New York City, is Manhattan. Now, Manhattan is one of the boroughs, but we also have Brooklyn and Queens and Staten Island. I guess people consider that as well.
Yeah.
And then some people even throw in like Westchester and whatnot, but whatever. So those are the 5 boroughs. I'm going to crack open my beer. So beautiful. Best sound on earth. Nice. I love it.
I'm expecting an explosion on this one. Are we ready? That was a little bit wimpy.
There you go.
I'm not gonna lie.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
There you go. Yamas. Oh my God, he is so classy. He's pouring it into some type of glass right now. God, you guys, like, come on, man. It's not fair. You got the accent. You're so classy. You're so refined. You're so polite. Americans are such trash. I mean, I'm trash. I'm drinking a beer out of a can sitting here right now.
You know what's really funny about that, though? From where I come from in Britain, I am not classy. That is not a classy area. With my area, which is Essex, we are joked about.
Really?
Yeah, like a lot of Cockney comes out of there.
Oh, Cockney's always up.
You see the Cockney accents on some of the gangster films and things like that.
I could do a good Cockney accent there for you, governor.
I'm going to have a sip of beer after here.
There you go. Do it. So the other thing that we bonded on the first time we were talking, because I pride myself in trying to know flags around the world. And when you said you were from Wales, I immediately know the Welsh flag because you have probably the coolest flag, that it's the dragon on the thing. And it is really, really, I think my flag, America, is beautiful. I think it's classy. But if you wanted to give me a flag that looks like you're in House Targaryen, which was the joke I made on your podcast, and your girlfriend, she was hysterical. She's like, oh, this guy's great. And I was very proud of that. And the best part of that conversation was you called her your partner, which then we had this little back and forth, like, well, what would you say? My mate, my partner? Because here, partner, like I told you, usually means you're either in business together or you are of the same gender. And then I think you said your mate, and I was like, no, that means you put a ring on it, and that is not the case.
Yeah, partner. I said partner or other half. That's
other half. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. You said other half. And I was like, oh, well, unless you have a ring on it, I don't know if that's really a part of it. So then we decided on girlfriend. But I love the back and forth of translations, Yeah. There's one of my favorite. Do you ever watch Family Guy? Do you guys have that?
Oh, I love it. Love Family Guy.
So I'm just going to go for it because I'm repeating a scene from there. And it always kind of cracked me up because there's a scene where Peter and the gang, they go down to the Clam, that's the bar. And then it gets bought by a British guy who then turns it into a pub. And Peter walks in and he's so upset about all this. And they're sitting there and they're kind of getting all grumpy about the words and the terms. And, I think Quagmire goes, in Britain, they call cigarettes fags. And Peter goes, well, somebody needs to get these cigarettes out of my bar right now. And it is so classy. Now, I don't use that word ever to describe anything, a cigarette or anything else, but that scene has just always stuck with me, just the translation of terms that we have.
You know what's even better? When you get to the end of that cigarette, we call that a fag butt.
It's called a fag butt. Okay, that's pretty good. So now that you've become an amateur podcaster, I mean, you're definitely an amateur because you are great at what you do. I think your platform and your podcast, what I want you to talk about, is really cool. But before we get to that, you told me when we were kind of talking before today that you're kind of a master of everything. You're really a whore when it comes to starting businesses and changing things. And I wanted to hear more about that because you told me that at one point you were or you still are a candle maker.
Oh yeah, everything. Baker, candlestick maker, all that stuff.
Yeah,
But,
it's such a coincidence because I have on coming up a friend of mine who is getting ready to start her own candle business. I guess she already has started. So I am curious to hear more about that, and specifically anytime that maybe something didn't go exactly according to plan.
oh, I could tell you quite a few of them. But I mean, my second business really was the candles. I mean, first of all, I did what basically everybody does that classes themselves as like an entrepreneur where they go online is they make t-shirts and do their own designs. It's 90% of people do it. You make a bit of money off it and hopefully you can do something else.
Oh wait, you make it to make money off of it because here we call it swag, stuff we all get, and it's more for promotional, like you give it out.
Oh no. No, if I did, I grew up on the term of if it doesn't make money, it doesn't make sense. I mean, for some things that's applicable, but now I'm getting a bit, I say it like I'm getting old now, but as I get a bit older, I do it less for the money a little bit and more just for the enjoyment of it, which is why I'm doing the podcast. I really enjoy it. I love the conversation. Mm-hmm. But the candles is great because I came up with this idea for like design and I've always been quite simplistic with it. And I managed to make a few. I just did it. Actually, I'll tell you how it started was I was watching The Apprentice. You've got The Apprentice over there, haven't you?
Yeah. Do you know who the host of The Apprentice is here, or at least was?
Oh, you're Mr. Chief.
It's a chief of staff, Mr. 45 himself. People here, I live on a very liberal part of Manhattan, and I have patients that won't even say his name. They literally come in and say, "Oh, do you mean 45?" Because he's the 45th president. And I go, "Yeah, can you not say his name?" They're like, "Oh, no." I'm like, "Okay, it's like Voldemort. Like, you can't say the name in front of people."
Do not say it.
So we have The Apprentice, but I think it might have been changed since, because I know they had Arnold Schwarzenegger host it at one point. I don't really watch it.
So he'll be your next president then?
Oh, gee. No, he can't, because one of the rules here is you have to be, we have two rules to be president, really, just two. You have to be over the age of 35, and you have to be a natural born American citizen, which is why Obama got some grief, because, him having a Muslim name, people came out and they were like, well, he's not born here. Show us and actually it was Trump who was like, show us your papers, show us your documents. It was a big thing, which was absurd. But anyway, tell me about The Apprentice.
So I actually didn't know when I used to watch it because I loved it. I didn't know it actually started in the US. I had no idea. Like we had our version after you. But anyway, I was watching it and they did an episode where they were making candles. And you normally watch it just for the comedy value of, they're making such a mess of this. It's brilliant. I love it. Car Crash TV. And they did a horrible job. And I was at my mum and dad's at the time and I just turned to her and said, it was only when they said how much they were selling it for. It's like 50 quid or 50 pounds for like, a whiskey tumbler size glass.
Quid and pounds are the same. Your whole bucks are, I don't get it. Okay. Quid and pounds. Got it.
Quid, pounds, same thing. A whiskey sized glass candle, okay. 50 pounds. And I turned around to my mum at the time and she went, that's ridiculous. There's no way. And she said, oh yeah. And she started spouting off names of companies saying they'll sell it. And I went, I could do that. And she did the worst thing. She looked at me and went, no, you couldn't. And I went, oh, I'll show you. I'll show you that. I literally stopped watching the program, went upstairs, started researching a few things, bought some materials that night. I kind of half forgot about it a couple of days later and all the stuff started coming in. And I was just like, oh, I'm going to have to prove it now. So I made a few and I started sending them online to these high-rise buildings in London and stuff like that. And I thought, oh, there might be something here. And I was sending them at a good half the price. But I knew because I was hand making them, when you've got more time to make them, you can make them cheaper and sell them out a lot better. If you've got more money, you tend to have less time and all the rest of it. So it makes it a more expensive candle. So I get their formula in that. But yeah, I started sending it, then started sending a few locally. But opened up my own shop last year. The year before, actually, I closed it end of last year just because it was like a testing ground to see what happened. Luckily, I did because of everything that's happened now.
Oh, seriously?
I literally closed it about 2 months before it happened. That was bonkers. I couldn't believe the timing of that. But yeah, I enjoyed doing it. So that led me on to other things. I've actually, because I went out and started doing the artisan markets, which I never used to go to. I think they're great. I love the whole handmade thing now. I think it's brilliant. I used to think, oh, why would I spend money on that when I can get it cheap online? And then it breaks the next week after you've bought it and you have to go and get a proper one anyway. And now I see the effort, the time and the quality that goes into this stuff. I'm like, why was I doing this in the first place? So from doing that, and I saw how people were suffering, I've made another thing now called United Artisans UK. And it's listed by towns. So every town in the UK will have a list of all their local producers. And you can literally click on that person's name. It takes you directly to their website. And it's brilliant. I don't charge anyone for it. You just go on it free. And I'm hoping to build like a database for everybody as like a platform to really be seen. And they get to keep a lot of the profits, which helps them develop, helps them grow.
Ugh, you're such a do-gooder. Like, you're just helping too many people out.
This is what I had some people say to me, are you sure it's free? Like, there's no hidden cost. I'm like, no, it's nothing. I'm literally shouldering the cost of this. I mean, it helps me because I have my stuff on it. So I'm helping everybody else because I know how hard up they are. Because a lot of people fell through the cracks when all this happened. And then when they go back to these markets, people will see them in the market and go, that's great. But what do I do when I leave here and I can't get hold of them? Well, you can. And it would be great if I could roll it out to other places as well. It'd be really good.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, we're definitely going to put your website in our bio and everything afterwards. I really love the fact that your mum kind of challenged you. You know, she challenged you because, you know, I'm a doctor of physical therapy. I can almost trace my success back to a day. I think it was in about 10th grade. I didn't have my driver's license yet. My mother was driving me to school, and I said, I'm going to get straight A's this year. And she goes, sweetheart, just do the best you can. And I was like, you son of a bitch. I will prove to you. And that was the first. You know what? For better or worse, my mother has given me blind confidence my whole life. Now, she is extremely proud of me. But at the same time, if I was flipping burgers somewhere, she would be telling her friends that I'm the best burger flipper. Now, you could make the argument that that's probably better than somebody who's out there just constantly shitting all over their kids. Like, why don't you do this? Why aren't you that? So I do give her a lot of credit. But at the same time, I remember that was the moment that kind of changed my drive in life. And I almost got straight A's that first quarter. I think I got like a B or two. But then from there out, I was fire the rest of school. I mean, it was really... And it started off as like I'll show you. So I think just having that in our lives, sometimes it's good. I mean, you don't want to beat somebody down forever, but a little bit of negativity can go a long way sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Sometimes you need a fire lit up under you, don't you?
It's absolutely. Now, you had kind of told me a little bit of a story before as far as candles go, because when it comes to scents, sorry, wow, that's terrible. When it comes to scents, SCENTS versus CENTS, everybody has their preference. You know, I use in my office a lavender cleaning solution, and 9 out of 10 people will ask me, wow, this smells really good in here, that lavender. I get one person every couple of weeks that will just tell me, please do not spray that in front of me. The smell is so repulsive. And I'm like, it's beautiful. It's lavender. It's an aphrodisiac. Not that I'm trying to do that.
How could you slate it?
Exactly. So I want to hear your story about the time that a scent went wrong.
Yeah, it wasn't all sort of sweetness and roses with the candle business. Not everything was a success. There was one shop that I was supplying, and they loved the fragrances. They thought they were great, and a few of them sold very quickly. And then they asked me, like, could you do a strawberries and strawberries and champagne? And I think they wanted a bit of a play because Wimbledon was on as well. So they did think strawberries and cream, but it was too sweet. So we did strawberry champagne. I make them in big batches, so I'm getting huge whiffs of these fragrances, and it smelled fine to me. And then I took it to the shop. They smelled it, and they said, "Yeah, that's really great. That's what we're after." So they put one on their display as like a demo, and this customer walked in apparently and just said, "Oh, what's that? It smells like baby sick in here." And she calls me about it, and I was so embarrassed. I couldn't believe it. I thought no, not one of mine, surely. And she never bought it again. I took it off the sheet as well for people to buy. I was like, I can't have that on the shelf.
Oh, I love it.
But
Baby sick. So vomit is what we're talking about. Throw up. Wow, that's really funny.
I do one called Newborn as well that is actually baby powder, which people love. They love that smell. But baby sick, not quite so popular.
Yeah, for me, the smell of a baby, anytime I see a new baby, I mean, I don't do drugs, but I go up to the baby's head and just put my nose on it and just take a huge, oh my God, that smell of a baby is just a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Do that, you get people that walk up to the kids, like, first of all, they make sure that the parent's happy for them to smell their baby. But they do walk up to these people, they say hi and everything, and then they just go to the baby and smell its head. I'm like, what are you doing?
Oh, okay. I do it mainly with babies I know for the most part, but
They
it's
just
like,
walk up to some random person's baby.
I mean, we have people here, especially in New York City, that walk their dogs all the time. And I have a friend, her name is Kate. She loves dogs so much, she will stop anybody. And what you can't just pet a dog here because it'll bite your fingers off. But you say, "Can I pet your dog?" Because it's more of a, is it safe to do it? But it's also a consent thing. Everything's about consent. So I guess that's kind of funny. Maybe when I finally make the trip over to England, I will make sure I can stop a baby on the street and smell it.
I'm terrible for that, when it comes to, like, with a baby, I'm standoffish, whatever. But when it's a dog, I can't help myself. I don't even ask half the time. I'm already looking at the dog like, oh, come here, come here.
Wait,
I
so
don't know.
you're a dog person? Because
I
I
love dogs.
yeah, but I get a lot of grief because I despise cats. And when we recorded your podcast, I didn't know that there was a cat sitting right in front of the camera. I I
She's
am
here
so
now.
I am so allergic to cats, and I hate them so much. And everybody always goes, "But it's like a dog cat. It's really a dog." And I'm like, oh, I don't freaking care. I don't care. I would have never agreed to do your podcast if I knew there was going to be a cat near the camera or anything.
No.
I know.
Was it that bad? Did you keep looking down like, oh, oh?
A little bit, yeah. I'm surprised I didn't start sneezing over the internet. That's how bad my allergies to kitty cats are.
You want to test it out now? She's on her cushion. She's
Ah,
ready for my podcast in a little bit.
that's great. No, no, thank you. So the other thing you said in here kind of recently, before we move on to the last part of the show, is you said The Apprentice started here in the States, which you were kind of surprised about because most of the time we just copy from other places. But Apprentice has grown, and there's all types of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. My question I was going to ask you actually at the end anyways. I'm assuming you've seen The Office, whether the UK or the British version, or maybe you've seen both.
I've seen the UK one. I haven't seen, although I've heard actually great things about it.
It's pretty good. It is The Office here. Steve Carell does a fantastic job. I have seen both versions. Ricky Gervais does a better job. He really is. He is fantastic, but Steve Carell makes the part his own. It's very similar. I think with our version of The Office, the supporting cast is far better than the UK version. But if you made me, gun to my head, made me pick, I think Ricky Gervais does an incredible job on The Office. And as much as I want to appreciate Steve Carell, because he really does a great job, he is kind of copycatting what Ricky Gervais did. I mean, he really is.
Well, it's just the same thing, just to relate over to a different country, isn't it? Really, a lot of places do it. It's great. I think what you said though is perfect for it because it'll only work if it actually does it slightly different. If you try and do it in exactly the same way, it won't work because it's a very different culture.
Exactly.
But,
yeah,
and when you said the supporting cast in your one was better, there was probably more character to them.
Yeah.
Whereas our ones, they were very flat, and a lot of the things they did were very subtle, which is kind of Ricky Gervais. He likes to be the ego of the show in a way. So I get what you mean by that.
Ricky Gervais is such a genius. I don't know if you saw the award show that he hosted. God, was it last year, earlier? But he had a line there where he just went up and roasted Hollywood. It was fantastic. And when he's
brutal. I love it.
It was great. When he turned to the audience and he was saying how you guys, you're anti this and anti that. He goes, meanwhile, if Al Qaeda started a production company, you'd all send your resumes. And I lost it.
I was like, ISIS, get your agent on the phone and stuff. I was like, oh my God. And he's turning around to him as well. I'm thinking, shut up, just because you're friends with him.
Yeah, that was pretty good. So, all right, man. Well, the other thing that we always do on our show is I've always been into playing trivia. And I don't know if you even knew this, but I prepared a couple of trivia questions for you. There's no harm, no foul. I try to make these questions gettable for our listeners. So some actually might be a little too easy for you. Okay? So you would know.
Don't you do that. Don't you lull me into that false sense of security. Don't do it.
All right. So question number 1, can you name the countries that make up the United Kingdom?
That just one of the countries?
There's 4. I need 4 countries.
Oh, okay. So England, Scotland, Wales, and Ireland. Or is it Northern Ireland?
Northern Ireland is the correct answer. So boom, you got all four. So it's Northern Ireland, which is a different country. Now, something when I was looking this up that I didn't actually know, I usually can get those four. The acronym is the compass, north, south, east, west. So that'll anybody listening to this will never now forget that. It's always NEWS, and now you'll never forget that. So very good. I give you credit. 1 for 1. You got it. Number
Never
2.
Eat shredded wheat.
Never eat shredded wheat. Yes. Which is why news is it's north, south, east, west. But yeah. No. Yeah, that's where they get the term news. It's from north, east, west, south.
I had that sudden realization, then a sudden embarrassment that I didn't know that.
That's okay. You learned something today. Question number 2. And I'll give you a range if you need it. How old is the Queen right now? Do you need a range? I'll give you plus or minus 2.
Oh, God knows. That's like 89. But, is it older than that?
The correct answer is 94. 94.
Oh.
So that's okay.
If anything, I've complimented her. So I said she's looking good for her age.
Exactly.
You're welcome if you're watching.
I'm just going to say, if you're watching, if this ever makes it to her granddaughter's ex-boyfriend's butcher's cousin, like that would be the highest.
Don't downplay yourself. We're doing public relations here for our country.
There you go, man.
They're doing a terrible job over there.
All right. Question number 3. Here in the States, a lot of our cities have nicknames. I'm not going to test you on those, but just quickly, like Philadelphia is the city of brotherly love. We have New Orleans is the Big Easy. Now, when I was looking up some things over by you, I was curious if you knew the city that is called the City of Dreaming Spires. The City of Dreaming Spires. If you don't know, let me at least give you some hints because I didn't know what a spire was, so I had to look that up. So a spire is a pyramidical structure on top of a building. So there is a city I think it's in England, that is just all these beautiful buildings and pyramids and structures and something. And maybe I'm an idiot and this is not even a big thing, but when I was looking up UK trivia, this popped up. Any guesses? It's a city in England.
No, I'm thinking southern England.
I couldn't tell you anything north or south. I'll give you a hint. It starts with a vowel.
I can't think what it would be.
No guesses?
No, you got me. No.
All right. It is Oxford.
Yeah. Oh, they're so high and mighty.
Yeah, I guess. I have no idea. So for me, I was just like, okay, sure. Maybe this is not a thing. I have no idea. I would be surprised if anybody listening to this from my end would know that. But you know what? I don't care.
They're winning.
Question number 4. I need you to name the famous monarch who coined the phrase, I see, but say nothing. I looked it up a couple of times. One time it was I see and say nothing, but a famous monarch who coined that phrase.
Would it be cheating if I Googled it?
Yeah, it would absolutely be cheating. How many monarchs do you think I could even name right now? I'd be like, oh.
I have no idea.
Guess somebody that was a king or queen.
Oh, a monarch that's or nothing. King George the. Oh.
Okay, I would have given you credit just for King George, but it turns out it was Queen Elizabeth I.
No. I was going to say one of the Elizabeths, and I chickened out.
You should have said it, because I would have given you a full point for one of the Elizabeths.
Yeah, because you're nice like that. You would have given me that one.
I would have. So the last question, which I think you should get, is what year did World War I end? Otherwise known as the Great War. Here in America, we try to be like, World War. Do you know Americans wear a stupid shirt that says back-to-back World War champions? Like, it's really kind of rude. But the Great War was way more about you guys. And they've made a bunch of movies in the last couple of years about it. So any guesses of what year the World War I ended? I'll give you plus or minus 2 here. So just come within 2 years.
See, you caught me off guard because you said World War I. And I was thinking World War II because that's the one we always get taught. World War One. Is it 1912? I want to say.
So a movie just came out, and it was a Academy Award favorite, although it didn't win. It was 1918.
1914. Oh, 18.
1918. They literally,
Oh,
they just put a movie out. I felt comfortable giving you that question because I actually sat and wasted so much time watching that movie. Have you seen it?
I have. I think was that the one that was shot almost all in one take?
Almost all in one take. And if people want to talk about that movie, it is one long take. It is beautiful cinema. It is not a good movie, though. I'm sorry. That's one of those, if you see it in the theater, it's better than anything else.
It had nice little details and intricacies, but it was all about the shot, wasn't it?
It was. And so my girlfriend works in the film TV industry. So the whole time she is just Googling it. And apparently the longest the longest scene that didn't get cut was like 9 minutes, because you know that they were editing people in and out of that stuff. And the cameos were fantastic. The fact that they had, Colin Firth and Benedict Cumberbatch and Rob Stark, whatever his real name is, I don't care.
Yeah. But they didn't make big deals of them, did they? I like it when they do that. I like it when they bring people in that are clearly a big name, big face or whatnot, but they don't make a big deal of it and they just let it go and just use them as part of the film.
It was almost like a cameo, which is pretty cool, but it was bigger than a cameo because they had a full scene, I guess, that was really nice. So, all right, man, you did pretty good. I still think you're going to do better than most of my friends who listen to this. So before we wrap this up, I want you to tell everybody the name of your podcast, the name of some of your websites, whatever you're doing. Just here's your time to plug.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you. So at the moment, the candles aren't available in the US, but they will be soon. And that's lolacandles.co.uk. They're all pure soy wax, handmade. I make every single one. My other website is unitedartisansuk.co.uk. It's in support of all UK artisans. So if you ever need to buy something for somebody you know in the UK, we'll go to their website through us and you'll be supporting somebody local. That's brilliant. And the podcast that I'll be doing tonight as well, live every time, is the IGA podcast, where we talk about anything and everything. Free speech, non-censorship. So we might be taken down soon ourselves, but we have fun doing it. And I've got somebody quite controversial on tonight, actually, which would be fun.
Awesome. Well, I hope everybody tunes in. I am going to definitely put some your links in when we post the episode. I try to edit all this stuff so it sounds a little bit cleaner for everybody, because I and spell things wrong clearly all the time. But Ian, thanks so much for coming on, man. It was a great pleasure having you. I'm going to be posting this. Everybody who's still listening, Stitcher, iTunes, Spotify, TikTok, Twitter, we put everything out there. Hey, man, stay safe, stay smart, say hi to your other half for me.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on. This has been great. I love your show.
All right, dude. Thanks so much. We out. Cheers.